Captain Han Wu sat in his command chair aboard the patrol ship Soul's Pride, watching the stars through the main screen. It was another quiet day in space, just like the hundreds before it. His ship was small compared to the big warships back at Earth, but it was fast and had good sensors. That made it perfect for patrol duty at the edge of the solar system. "Captain," called Lieutenant Mia Young from her station, "I'm getting some strange readings on long-range sensors." Han Wu turned to look at her. Ma Young was young but very good at her job. If she said something was strange, he listened. "What kind of readings?" "Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace near the edge of the system. Big ones." Mi Young's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Sir, these ships are huge." "Much bigger than anything we have." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. For decades, Earth had wondered if there was other intelligent life in the galaxy. Now they had their answer, and these visitors had very advanced technology. "Red alert," Han Wu ordered. "All hands to battle stations." Ma Young, try to establish contact. "Hyun-tae, I want a full scan of those ships." Tactical Officer Hyun-tae worked at his station, his face growing more worried with each second. "Captain, I count 61 ships total. 12 very large ones, maybe 3 kilometers long, 48 medium ships about 1 kilometer each, and 1 massive ship that's over 4 kilometers long." Han Wu felt his stomach drop. Earth's largest warship was barely 2 kilometers long, and they only had 28 ships in the entire fleet. These aliens had brought more than twice as many ships, and each one was bigger than Earth's best. "Contact established, Captain," Mi Young reported. "They're responding to our hail." The main screen changed to show an alien face. The creature looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect, with 4 eyes and sharp teeth. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into English. "I am Admiral Vexthul of the Caltharian Empire," the alien said. Its voice was cold and arrogant. "You will identify yourself and state your species' surrender terms." Han Wu stood up from his chair. He had never imagined first contact would happen like this, but he was ready to represent humanity. "I am Captain Han Wu of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome to our solar system. We wish to establish peaceful relations between our peoples." Admiral Vexthul made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peaceful relations? You misunderstand your situation, human. The Caltharian Empire does not negotiate with primitive species. You have 72 of your planetary rotations to surrender completely. If you refuse, we will destroy every trace of your civilization." The alien's image disappeared, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. Han Wu stared at the empty screen, trying to process what had just happened. Humanity's first contact with aliens was an ultimatum to surrender or die. "Captain," Hyun-tae said quietly, "should I contact Earth Command?" "Do it now," Han Wu replied. "Priority Alpha transmission. Tell them we have a situation." Back on Earth, General So-jin was in her office when the emergency alert came through. She had been expecting a routine patrol report, not the most important message in human history. Within minutes, she was in the war room with the planet's top military leaders. Defense Minister Dae-min looked pale as he read the report. 61 alien warships demanding our surrender. This can't be real. "The sensor data confirms it," said Admiral Yuna, commander of the Solar Fleet. She was a tough woman who had spent 30 years in space. "Our patrol ship is transmitting detailed scans. These ships are more advanced than anything we have." "We should try to negotiate," Dae-min suggested. "Maybe we can find some common ground." Admiral Yuna shook her head. "You heard what their admiral said. They don't negotiate. They conquer. This species has probably done this before many times." General So-jin studied the alien fleet composition on her screen. The numbers were not good for Earth. Even if they used every ship in the solar fleet, they would be badly outnumbered. And the alien ships were clearly more advanced. "What are our options?" she asked. "We could surrender," Dae-min said. "Maybe they would let some of humanity survive under their rule. Or we could fight," Admiral Yuna replied. "Even if we lose, we go down fighting for our freedom." General So-jin was quiet for a long moment. She thought about the millions of people on Earth who had no idea their world was about to change forever. Children playing in parks, families eating dinner together, scientists working on new discoveries. All of it could be gone in 3 days. "There is a third option," she said finally. "Something we've been working on for 20 years. Project Horizon's End." Admiral Yuna raised an eyebrow. She had heard whispers about secret projects, but nothing confirmed. "What kind of project?" "The kind that was designed for exactly this situation," So-jin replied. Contact Colonel Jin Q immediately. Tell him to begin final preparations. Far from Earth, hidden behind the massive bulk of Saturn's moon Titan, something stirred in the darkness. Automated systems that had been waiting for decades suddenly came to life. Construction robots moved with purpose, making final adjustments to humanity's greatest secret. Colonel Jin Q stood in the command center, watching dozens of screens showing different parts of the hidden facility. For 20 years, Earth's best scientists and engineers had worked on this project. They had always known that someday, humanity might meet something dangerous among the stars. Status report, Jin Q ordered. All systems are green, replied his chief engineer. Horizon's End is ready for deployment, Jin Q nodded. Then let's show these aliens what humans are really capable of. In space near Jupiter, Captain Han Wu kept his ship hidden behind an asteroid, watching the alien fleet. The Caltharians were not even trying to hide their contempt for humanity. Their formations were loose and casual, like they were on parade instead of preparing for war. They don't think we're a threat, Yuntai observed. Good, Han Wu replied. Let them think that. In 2 days, they're going to learn something about humans that they won't expect. The countdown to humanity's ultimatum had begun, but Earth was not as helpless as it seemed. The second day of the ultimatum began with Earth's solar fleet moving into defensive positions. Admiral Yu Na stood on the bridge of her flagship, Terra's Shield, watching 27 other human ships take their places. It was every warship Earth could gather on short notice. 8 cruisers, each about 1 kilometer long, formed the main battle line. 20 frigates, smaller but fast, spread out to provide cover. The carrier Terra's Shield sat in the center, its fighter bays ready to launch humanity's best pilots into what would probably be their final battle. From his command ship, Admiral Vexthal observed the human fleet with amusement. His bridge crew gathered around the main display, pointing and laughing at what they saw. Look at those tiny ships, chuckled Battle Commander Zixran, his second in command. Their biggest vessel is barely half the size of our smallest cruiser. And their weapons, added Science Officer Krelvan, studying the sensor readings. Simple kinetic projectiles and basic energy beams. My hatchling could build better weapons with scrap metal. Admiral Vexthal's 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. In his 50 years of military service, he had conquered 47 star systems for the Empire. Each time, the local species had thought they could resist. Each time, they learned how wrong they were. Send a message to Emperor Kolvask, Vexthal ordered. Tell him we will conclude this conquest ahead of schedule. These humans will surrender before the deadline, once they see how hopeless their situation is. The message was sent across the Empire's communication network, reaching dozens of worlds. On each planet, citizens gathered to watch broadcasts of the amusing human resistance. Children laughed at pictures of Earth's small ships. Military academies used the human fleet as an example of primitive thinking. This is why the Empire always wins, explained Professor Thelax to his students on the capital world. Lesser species never prepare properly. They build whatever they can afford, not what they actually need to win. Back in the Sol system, the human ships held their positions near Jupiter's orbit. Captain Bo-Ri, commanding the cruiser Incheon's Fury, studied the alien formations through her view screen. The Caltharians were not even trying to look military. Their ships drifted in loose groups, like they were at a space festival instead of preparing for war. Captain, her tactical officer reported, the aliens are maintaining minimum shields and their weapon systems are barely charged. They're not taking us seriously at all. Bo-Ri nodded grimly. Good. The more confident they are, the bigger surprise they'll get. She thought about her family back on Earth. Her daughter was only 12 years old. If the aliens won, what would happen to her? The Caltharians had made it clear they did not negotiate or show mercy to conquered species. Meanwhile, deep in Earth's most secret facility, Colonel Jin Q was making final preparations for humanity's hidden ace. The project had started 25 years ago, when Earth's scientists first detected alien radio signals from deep space. The signals were military communications, talking about conquered worlds and enslaved species. Earth's leaders had made a decision that day. If hostile aliens ever found humanity, Earth would be ready. The best minds on the planet had been gathered in secret. Unlimited funding had been provided. For 2 decades they had worked on a single goal, building something that could protect humanity from whatever was out there. How long until we can deploy? Jean-Q asked his chief engineer, Dr. Nari. 6 hours for final systems check, she replied. Everything is ready. The power core is stable, weapons are charged, and all fighter squadrons are prepared. Jin-Q looked at the massive construction hanging in space outside the facility. Even he sometimes couldn't believe what they had built. It was 4 kilometers of the most advanced technology Earth could produce, powered by artificial black holes and armed with weapons that could crack planets. Any word from the fleet? He asked. Admiral Yuna reports the aliens are moving closer. They seem to think this will be easy. Jin-Q smiled coldly. Then they're about to learn the most important lesson in military history. Never underestimate your enemy. On the bridge of the Soul's Pride, Captain Han-Woo continued monitoring alien communications. His ship's advanced sensors could intercept some of their transmissions, and what he heard made his blood boil. They're placing bets, he told his crew, betting on how long it will take to destroy our fleet. The longest guess is 20 minutes. Lieutenant Mi-young shook her head in disgust. 20 minutes? They think we'll last 20 minutes? Let them think that, Han-Woo replied. The more arrogant they are, the harder they'll fall. He had received classified orders from Earth Command. When the time came, the Soul's Pride would play a very important role in what was about to happen. Han-Woo just hoped he would live long enough to see the aliens' faces when they realized their mistake. Admiral Vexthol was enjoying himself immensely. He had ordered his fleet to advance slowly, letting the humans see their doom approaching. It was psychological warfare at its finest. Soon the human leaders would realize how hopeless their situation was and surrender to save their civilians. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we're receiving messages from the human ships. They're asking us to reconsider our demands. Vexthol laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. Tell them they have 18 hours remaining. After that, we will demonstrate why the Caltharian Empire has never lost a war. But even as he spoke, something was happening in the outer system that his sensors could not detect. Behind Saturn's largest moon, ancient stealth systems were powering down. Massive engines were warming up. And in the deepest sections of humanity's secret weapon, thousands of pilots were climbing into their fighters. Squadron leader Ha-Yun checked her instruments one final time. She had been training for this moment for 10 years, but she had never imagined it would really happen. Now Earth's survival depended on pilots like her. All squadrons report ready, she told her wing commander. Good, came the reply. Remember, we get one chance at this. Make it count. As the sun set on Earth for what might be the last time as a free world, millions of people looked up at the stars and wondered what was happening out there. They did not know that their fate hung in the balance, or that their planet's defenders were about to reveal humanity's greatest achievement. In the darkness between worlds, something vast began to move. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the quiet species are the most dangerous ones of all. The third day arrived like a death sentence. Admiral Vexthol's fleet moved forward with ceremonial slowness, their weapons charged and ready. The alien admiral wanted the humans to see their doom approaching. He had done this 47 times before, and it never got old. All ships maintain formation, Vexthol commanded. Advance at half speed. Let these primitives appreciate the glory of imperial might. The massive Caltharian fleet stretched across space like a wall of death. Their ships gleamed with polished metal and energy shields. Gunports glowed with barely contained power. This was the sight that had made dozens of species surrender without firing a shot. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of Terra's shield, watching the alien fleet approach. Her hands were steady, but inside she felt the weight of humanity's future. Every person on Earth was counting on what happened in the next few hours. All ships, battle stations, she ordered. Prepare for engagement. The human fleet looked tiny compared to the advancing aliens. 28 ships against 61, and the size difference made it even worse. But Yuna had her orders, and she would follow them no matter what happened. The first shots came from the aliens. Brilliant beams of plasma energy crossed space, striking 3 human frigates. The smaller ships never had a chance. Their shields collapsed instantly, and their hulls melted like ice under the alien weapons. Direct hits on the Dagu's sword, Pohang's Pride, and Ulsan's Hope, reported the tactical officer. All 3 ships destroyed. Admiral Yuna felt sick watching good people die, but she held her position. Return fire. All ships engaged the enemy. The human ships fired back with their best weapons. Missiles and energy beams struck the alien vessels but did little damage. The Caltharian shields were too strong, their armor too thick. On his flagship, Admiral Vexthul nodded with satisfaction. As predicted, their weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Continue the advance. This will be over within the hour. But as his fleet moved closer to finish the humans, something impossible began to happen. Space itself seemed to bend and twist behind Jupiter's great red spot. Massive energy readings appeared on every sensor screen. "Admiral," shouted his science officer Krelvan, "I'm detecting an enormous power signature. Something is emerging from behind the gas giant." Vexthul turned to stare at the display. "What kind of power signature?" "Sir, it's off our scale. Whatever it is, it's bigger than anything in our database." Commander Tae Sang stood on the bridge of the human frigate Gwangju's Light, grinning as he watched his sensors. After 20 years of secrecy, the moment had finally arrived. "All ships," he announced on the fleet channel. "Horizon's End is online." Space continued to ripple and bend as something massive pushed through the dimensional barriers. The stars seemed to dim as an enormous shadow fell across the battlefield. Then, like a mountain emerging from fog, humanity's greatest secret revealed itself. The UES Leviathan was 4 kilometers of impossible technology. Its hull was made from materials that should not exist, forged in the heart of artificial stars. Energy fields danced across its surface like living lightning. Weapons that could crack moons waited in hidden bays, but the ship's size was not the most shocking thing. As the Leviathan fully emerged, its deployment bays began opening like the petals of a deadly flower. Row after row of fighter craft appeared, each one larger and more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Vexthul, staring at the monster that had appeared from nowhere. "Our sensors detected nothing. How could they hide something so large?" His science officer worked frantically at his station, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Sir, the technology readings are beyond our comprehension. Their power output exceeds our entire fleet combined." The Leviathan's main weapon began charging with a sound like thunder in space. Energy gathered at the front of the massive ship, bending light around it. This was not some primitive human technology. This was something that belonged in the deepest nightmares of advanced civilizations. "All alien vessels," came a calm voice over the communication system. It was Admiral Yuna, but now she sounded completely confident. "You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning." Admiral Vexthul felt something he had not experienced in decades: fear. But his pride would not let him back down. "All ships concentrate fire on the large vessel. Destroy it before it can attack." Every Caltharian ship turned their weapons toward the Leviathan and fired at once. Hundreds of plasma beams and energy missiles struck the human supercarrier. The attack would have vaporized any normal ship instantly. The Leviathan's shields absorbed the entire attack without even flickering. Advanced technology that humanity had spent 20 years developing made the alien weapons look like toys. The supercarrier's hull did not even show scorch marks. "Your turn," Admiral Yuna said quietly. The Leviathan's main cannon fired for the first time. Instead of energy or missiles, it shot pure gravitational force. Space itself bent and twisted as the beam crossed the distance to the alien fleet. When it struck the Caltharian heavy cruiser Void Render, the massive ship simply came apart. Not exploded, not melted, but torn apart at the molecular level by forces that rewrote the laws of physics. Silence fell across both fleets as everyone processed what had just happened. The most powerful ship in the Caltharian fleet had been destroyed in a single shot by a weapon that seemed to break reality itself. "Science officer," Vexthul screamed. "Analysis!" "What kind of weapon was that?" Krelvan stared at his instruments in horror. "Admiral, I cannot explain what I just saw. That beam manipulated fundamental forces in ways our science says should be impossible." The Leviathan's fighter bays opened completely, and the real shock began. Thousands of advanced fighters poured out like angry wasps. These were not the primitive craft the aliens had expected. Each fighter was equipped with quantum drives and weapons that could punch through Imperial shields. Squadron leader Ha Yun led the first wave, her fighter moving faster than Caltharian sensors could track. "All squadrons engage at will. Show them what human pilots can do." The space battle exploded into chaos as human fighters swarmed the alien fleet. The Caltharians discovered that their superior ships were suddenly fighting for their lives against technology they did not understand. "Retreat," Admiral Vexthul ordered, his voice cracking with panic. "All ships, retreat immediately!" But as his fleet tried to turn away, another shock awaited them. The Leviathan had deployed gravity well generators, creating fields that prevented hyperspace travel. The Caltharian fleet was trapped in the Sol system with no way to escape. "Impossible," Vexthul shouted. "Our drives are not responding." On the bridge of the Leviathan, Captain Jinho smiled coldly. He had waited his entire career for this moment. "Admiral Vexthul of the Caltharian Empire," he said over the communication system, "welcome to humanity's real technology. We've been expecting you." What followed was not the quick conquest Admiral Vexthul had expected. It was the most brutal space battle in recorded history, and the Caltharian Empire was losing. The human fighters moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Squadron leader. Hayun rolled her craft between two Caltharian destroyers, her quantum engines leaving trails of bent space behind her. Her wingman, Wu Min, followed close behind, both pilots moving faster than the alien gunners could track. "Target the engine sections," Hayun commanded her squadron over the radio. "These ships can't fight if they can't move." Her fighters' weapons were not the primitive guns the aliens expected. Advanced plasma cannons fired controlled bursts that punched through Imperial shields like paper. Each shot was precisely calculated by computers that could predict enemy movements 3 seconds in advance. The Caltharian destroyer Bone Crusher fired desperately at the human fighters, but hit nothing but empty space. The pilots were too fast, too skilled, and their technology was decades beyond what the Empire understood. "This is impossible," shouted the destroyer's captain as his shields began failing. "How can primitive fighters penetrate our armor?" The answer came in the form of Hayun's final attack run. Her fighter's main gun charged with energy that glowed like a small star. When she fired, the beam cut the destroyer completely in half, leaving both pieces drifting in space. Across the battlefield, the same scene played out dozens of times. Human fighters destroyed alien ships that should have been invulnerable. The technology gap was so vast that it seemed like magic. On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Jinho watched the battle with satisfaction. 20 years of secret development had led to this moment. Every alien ship that fell proved that humanity's sacrifice and planning had been worth it. "Main gun ready for second shot," reported his weapons officer. "Target the alien flagship," Jinho ordered. "Let's end their admiral's arrogance." The Leviathan's massive weapon began charging again. This time, every alien sensor in the fleet detected the energy buildup. They knew what was coming and tried desperately to stop it. 12 Caltharian cruisers fired everything they had at the human supercarrier. Hundreds of missiles and energy beams struck the Leviathan's shields. The attack was powerful enough to destroy a small moon. The shields held without even flickering. "Impossible," whispered Science Officer Krelvan aboard the alien flagship. "Nothing should be able to absorb that much energy." Admiral Vexthul stared at his instruments in horror. His fleet was being destroyed by technology that should not exist. Ships that had conquered dozens of star systems were falling like toys before human weapons. "All ships, concentrate fire on their fighter bays," he ordered desperately. "Stop those fighters from launching." But it was too late. The Leviathan had already deployed over 3,000 fighters, and more were emerging every minute. The human pilots flew with skill that amazed even their enemies, turning the space battle into a massacre. Captain A. commanded the human destroyer Busan's Hammer, leading a coordinated attack with the fighter squadrons. Her ship was not one of the fake primitive vessels the aliens had first seen. Like the rest of the human fleet, it had been disguised with holographic projectors to hide its true power. "All weapons, fire," she ordered. The destroyer's hidden guns revealed themselves, launching missiles that moved faster than light itself. The weapons used quantum tunneling to appear inside enemy ships, bypassing shields and armor completely. 3 Caltharian cruisers exploded within seconds, their crews never knowing what hit them. "How are they doing this?" demanded Battle Commander Zixran, Vexthul's second in command. "Our intelligence said they were primitive." "Our intelligence was wrong," Vexthul replied, watching another of his ships die. "These humans have been lying to us from the beginning." The truth was exactly that. For decades, humanity had deliberately made their technology look primitive. Earth's ships carried holographic generators that disguised advanced weapons as simple cannons. Their true capabilities had been hidden behind carefully designed deception. Every alien probe that had visited the Sol system had seen only what humanity wanted them to see. Basic technology, small ships, and a species that seemed barely capable of spaceflight. The Caltharians had based their invasion plans on completely false information. "Admiral," his communications officer reported with panic in his voice, "we're receiving a message from the human flagship." Admiral Yuna's face appeared on the alien ship's main screen. She looked calm and professional, like someone discussing the weather instead of commanding a battle. "Admiral Vexthal," she said politely, "I believe your empire has made a serious mistake. You assumed that because humanity stayed in our home system, we were not advancing technologically. You were wrong." Vexthal felt rage and fear fighting in his chest. "What do you want, human?" "Your unconditional surrender," Yuna replied. "Your fleet will power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be treated according to the laws of war, but your ships now belong to Earth." "Never," Vexthal roared. "The Caltharian Empire does not surrender to primitives." Yuna's expression did not change. "Very well. Captain Jin-Ho, demonstrate our manufacturing capabilities." The Leviathan began to change before the aliens' horrified eyes. New sections grew from its hull like living metal. Construction bays opened, revealing automated factories that worked faster than any biological crew could manage. Within minutes, new human warships began emerging from the Supercarrier's manufacturing bays. They were built in real time from raw materials that the Leviathan somehow created from empty space itself. "Nanotechnology," breathed Science Officer Krelvan. "They're building ships from stellar matter. We thought such technology was impossible." The first new ship rolled out of the construction bay, fully armed and ready for battle. Then another. Then 10 more. The human fleet was growing stronger even as they fought. Admiral Vexthal realized that humanity had not just hidden their true technology. They had been preparing for this exact situation for decades. Every system, every weapon, every tactic had been designed to defeat invaders who underestimated Earth. "Science Officer," he said quietly, "analysis of our tactical situation." Krelvan worked at his station with shaking hands. "Admiral, we have lost 38 ships. The humans have lost 3 frigates. At current rates, our fleet will be completely destroyed within 2 hours. And theirs?" "Sir, they are building new ships faster than we can destroy them. Even if we could penetrate their defenses, which we cannot, they have unlimited reinforcements." Vexthal looked around his bridge at officers who had served the Empire for decades. All of them wore expressions of shock and defeat. They had never imagined such a reversal was possible. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he said finally. Admiral Yuna appeared on screen again, still looking perfectly calm. Behind her, status displays showed the complete destruction of the Caltharian attack force. "Admiral Vexthal," she said, "have you reconsidered our terms?" The alien admiral felt his pride crumble like dust. We surrender." 3 days after the battle, Emperor Kolvask himself arrived in the Sol system with the main Caltharian fleet. He expected to find his advance force celebrating another easy conquest. Instead, he found something that would change the galaxy forever. His flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Empire, dropped out of hyperspace to find Admiral Vexthal's surviving ships floating powerless near Jupiter. Human vessels surrounded them, including the impossible supercarrier that had destroyed half the invasion fleet. "What is the meaning of this?" Emperor Kolvask demanded as he stared at the tactical display. His 4 eyes could not believe what they were showing him. The mighty Caltharian advance fleet, conqueror of 47 star systems, had surrendered to a species they had dismissed as primitives. "Your Majesty," his admiral reported nervously, "the humans appear to have hidden their true technological capabilities. Our advance fleet encountered resistance far beyond their intelligence estimates." The Emperor's scales turned dark with rage. "Impossible. Our scouts confirmed these humans were barely capable of interplanetary travel. Their largest ships were pathetic compared to our destroyers." But as he watched, more human ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. Each one was larger and more advanced than his intelligence reports had suggested. It was clear that humanity had been deliberately deceiving anyone who observed them. On the neutral space station that had been hastily constructed for the peace talks, General Sojin sat across from Emperor Kolvask. She wore the uniform of Earth's first ambassador to galactic affairs, a position created just for this meeting. The Emperor was used to conquered species begging for mercy or offering tribute. He had never expected to find himself negotiating with equals. The human woman across from him showed no fear, no desperate desire to please. She spoke to him as if Earth and the Empire had equal power. "Your Empire made one critical mistake," Ambassador Sojin explained calmly. "You assumed that just because humanity had not expanded beyond our home system, we had not been preparing for contact with hostile aliens." Emperor Kolvask's pride burned like acid in his throat. "You deceived us. Made us believe you were primitive. We protected ourselves," Sojin corrected. 25 years ago, we detected your military communications from deep space. We learned about your Empire's methods. We decided that when you eventually found us, Earth would be ready." The Emperor leaned back in his chair, trying to process what he was hearing. "You knew we were coming? For 25 years? We knew someone like you was out there. Your Empire was not the only hostile civilization we detected. We prepared for the worst possible scenario." So Jin touched a control on the table, and a holographic display appeared showing the Leviathan's construction. Every day for 2 decades, our best scientists and engineers worked on a single goal: ensuring that humanity could defend itself against advanced alien aggression. The primitive technology you observed was deliberately designed to make potential invaders overconfident. Emperor Kolvask stared at the technical specifications floating in the air. The energy requirements alone were beyond what most civilizations could generate. The weapon systems used physics that the Empire's best scientists considered theoretical impossibilities. "This is why our advanced fleet was defeated so easily," he said quietly. "You wanted us to underestimate you. The more arrogant and confident your forces were, the bigger advantage we would have in battle," Sojin confirmed. "Your Admiral's contempt for human capabilities was exactly what we hoped for." The talks continued for 3 days, with the Emperor learning more shocking truths about humanity. Earth had been monitoring galactic communications for decades, studying the tactics and technology of dozens of alien civilizations. They knew the Empire's battle strategies better than most Caltharian officers. When the negotiations ended, the galaxy had changed forever. The Caltharian Empire, for the first time in its history, had agreed to a peace treaty as equals rather than as conquerors. The news spread across hundreds of worlds within hours. Admiral Han Wu, promoted after his patrol ship's crucial role in First Contact, now commanded the new supercarrier Pacific's Thunder. It was the second Leviathan-class ship, built in the weeks following the battle. Earth was not taking any chances on future alien contact. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving messages from 17 different alien civilizations. They all want to establish diplomatic relations with Earth." Han Wu smiled as he looked at the messages. Word of humanity's victory over the Empire had reached species that had been conquered decades ago. Some wanted military alliances, others offered trade agreements. All of them saw Earth as hope that the Empire's expansion could be stopped. "Send standard diplomatic responses," he ordered, "and inform Earth Command that we may need more ships soon." On Earth itself, the revelation of humanity's secret technology had caused massive changes. The public now knew about the decades-long preparation for alien contact. Defense spending increased dramatically as new shipyards were built throughout the solar system. Dr. Nari, the chief engineer who had helped design the Leviathan, was now working on even more advanced projects. In the deep space construction facility near Saturn, something new was taking shape. "What exactly are we building this time?" asked her assistant, Commander Najun, as they watched construction robots assembling a framework larger than anything humanity had ever attempted. Dr. Nari looked up from her calculations with a mysterious smile. "Insurance," she said simply. "The universe is vast, and we have only met one empire so far. There could be others out there, and some of them might be even more dangerous." She turned back to her work, but Najun could see the specifications on her screen. Whatever they were building, it made the Leviathan look small by comparison. Deep space monitoring stations throughout the Sol system began detecting new signals in the following weeks. Unknown fleets were moving in distant star systems. Some appeared to be investigating the reports of the Empire's defeat. Others seemed to be positioning themselves for unknown purposes. Captain Bo Ri, now commanding Earth's outer system defenses, reviewed the sensor data with growing concern. At least 12 different unknown civilizations are showing increased activity in our general direction, she reported to Earth. Command. Some of them might be allies, suggested. Her tactical officer, hopefully. Bo, shook her head as she studied the alien ship designs. Maybe, but look at these configurations. Half of these fleets are clearly military in nature. Word of our victory has attracted attention from across the galaxy, and not all of it is friendly. In the final report of the Caltharian incident, General So-Jin wrote words that would become famous throughout human space. Earth's revelation of its true capabilities has ended humanity's age of hiding. We can no longer pretend to be a primitive species content to stay in our home system. The galaxy knows we exist, knows we are powerful, and knows we are willing to fight for our freedom. She paused in her writing, looking out at the stars through her office window. Somewhere out there, new challenges were already heading toward Earth. Humanity had won its first galactic war, but it might not be the last. The universe is vast and full of unknowns, she continued writing. We have proven that human ingenuity and preparation can defeat arrogant invaders. But there are older civilizations out there, species with technology that might dwarf even our achievements. We must continue to prepare, continue to advance, and continue to ensure that humanity's future remains in human hands. As Earth's new warships patrolled the outer system and construction continued on ever more advanced projects, one thing was certain. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The age of hiding was over. The age of human expansion had begun. And in the deep darkness between stars, ancient civilizations that had slept for millennia began to stir, drawn by reports of a young species that had accomplished the impossible. Earth's greatest challenges were still to come.